Partisan. Jake Sherman runs Punchbowl News, which is not affiliated with the Democratic Party like those other organizations. Good morning, Jake.
We're affiliated with the Jake Sherman Party and the Jake Sherman Party alone.
That's it. And I think that Major League Baseball has made a huge mistake. I am not buying a ticket this year, no merch, period. Lots of people agree with me on that. I don't think they read the Georgia law. And let me play for you Chris Christie, cut number 11 on ABC News yesterday.
It's just a symptom, George. It's a symptom of what's going on in our country right now. I mean, let's talk about what the Georgia law is really about, because we haven't had much of that. Drop boxes now become a permanent part of the Georgia landscape. They were not prior to COVID. They are now. Minimum of 17 days of early voting, including 2 Saturdays and 2 optional Sundays. You're going to have all voters being able to have multiple ways to prove who they are. Driver's license, last 4 numbers of your social security number, even a utility bill, or a free ID provided by the state of Georgia. And voting is going to be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., as it is right now in Georgia. This is what we call.
What is it a symptom of? It sounds like you're against them.
It's a symptom of this, George. And I hate to come in here this morning to say this, because I sat here and listened to the president's inaugural address, and I just want a couple of real quick points from it. Politics need not be a raging fire that destroys everything in its path. Every disagreement doesn't have to be a cause for total war. And we must reject a culture in which facts themselves are manipulated or made up. And Joe Biden's broken his own rule, 84 days. And now he's lying to the American people, George. He's lying about this bill. He's lying to the American people about it to cause the raging fire he said he was going to put out. I'm very disappointed.
Jake Sherman, that's strong stuff, but the president did lie. He got fact-checked by the Washington Post, calling this Jim Crow on steroids. It's outrageous, but I don't think the Beltway knows how ticked off people are.
I think I certainly know how ticked off people are about it. I'm well aware of it. I think a few things. I think, I do understand the bill. I have read the bill and read the coverage of it. I think what happened is, and I'm not taking a side here, I think what happened is that a couple provisions got a lot of attention, and it became too hot. And, of course, when the President of the United States goes on television and tells Major League Baseball to move their All-Star game, they have no choice at that point, really. I mean, they have a choice. That's not fair. But they are under tremendous amounts of pressure, so I think that's what happened here.
And Major League Baseball took the choice away from their fans. And Coca-Cola and Delta telegraphed that they will do what the Democratic Party tells them to do. I'm looking at a CNN story that has in it the subheadline, Texas could be next front in voter suppression laws. Voting security laws are not voter suppression laws. But if you take that headline, you're taking a stand. You're fixing the news. No, it's not you, Jake, but CNN is a participant in the news. And I actually think people have had it up to here with woke corporatism and being pushed around and being told they cannot do this or cannot do that, and that baseball's going to suffer and Delta's going to suffer and Coke's going to suffer. Chris Christie's coming on at the bottom of the hour. What is Raphael Warnock going to do? He just cost his state $100 million.
Yeah, but I would say, Hugh, that you call it woke corporatism, and I'm just going to play devil's advocate for a second. I mean, it is the free market working, right? I mean, if a company doesn't want to participate in whatever the activity of the state is, and then, by the way, people like you and other voters and other people, other consumers will suggest that they're not going to participate in their commerce. You're not going to fly Delta, although there's not much option from California. I guess there is Los Angeles to DCA if you have to come to the East Coast on Delta, but you could switch to United or American, so you have your choice there. You could drink Pepsi. But I would say, I mean, and not speaking broadly, but not about this incident at all, just speaking broadly, I actually think it broadly speaking is how free markets and capitalism should work. And
now, disagreement here. Shareholder value should drive corporate decisions. Shareholder value. And Delta did not consult shareholders. Delta didn't do anything except react reflexively. And there's a Georgia Public Broadcast study on this bill that was, very long, very detailed. And there's a lot to like in it, but you know and I know what got the most attention is you can't give food and water to people in line. Jake, in your entire life of voting, have you ever needed food or water in line? That's designed to prevent people from electioneering in line, which has been illegal forever.
Yeah, and supporters of the bill have said that that provision is the same thing as not allowing electioneering within X number of feet of a polling place, which and I've been to polling places all across this country, as you have too. That's illegal everywhere. But you're right. That provision did get a lot of attention and kind of carried the day.
So the media combined with woke leftists to sell a narrative, and then the president saying, and I mean, Jake, the president saying this is Jim Crow on steroids is deeply insulting to people who lived under Jim Crow. I mean, it is so not Jim Crow. And Jim Crow would be unconstitutional. If the bill was Jim Crow, it would be struck down by every court in the land in about 5 seconds. But he doesn't get called on it. And I think the media bias.
I think he has gotten called on it. I think there have been fact checks of what he has said. I think there's been, I think there's been ample coverage of what he said. But I hear you. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I just think I disagree that there's been no coverage of it. I think there has been. And by the way, no matter what state they move this to, the All-Star game, someone's going to have a problem with some law on the books, right? I mean, no state is perfect in every single person's eyes, except Connecticut, my home state.
Why is New York the home of Major League Baseball? Their voting restrictions are much, much more numerous and obtrusive than those of Georgia. Right. And why do they go to work there? Because they're idiots. I think Rob Manfred is a moron. I really do. Just like Roger Goodell, they are puppets of the owners, and the owners need to talk to each other about what happened. Now I got to go to the Punchbowl News thing because this is big. Punchbowlnews.com, America, if you want Jake's morning bolt of news. I don't think this tax bill has a chance. I don't think people want. Do you know what stepped up basis is, Jake?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Well, last week I asked a bunch of journalists, and many of them didn't know it. I've taken the time to ask people all weekend long. Those that know that it's on the chopping block are outraged, and those that don't know what it is get outraged when they find out what it is.
Yep.
I don't think this has a prayer.
Well, I would actually even take it a step. I mean, I have been, and I, maybe I'll tell you what the White House says, and Ron Klain, and he's the captain of the ship, and he's a smart guy. The White House believes that, forget the stepped up stuff for a second, and just let's talk about the corporate rate. The corporate rate's at 21% thanks to the tax bill that Republicans did in 2017. That bill, Democrats want to bring that back up to 28 from 21. I just tend to think, I mean, maybe I guess I'm wrong because there is really no opposition to this right now among Democrats. I just have to think that raising taxes on corporations in a soft economy is not politically popular, although every Democrat's behind it, so I'm clearly wrong. Democrats believe in the White House that soaking corporations is popular, and they are 100% firm on that. I'm surprised to the extent to which they are just full steam ahead on this.
Well, that wait until the counter argument begins, which is all that happens when you raise corporate taxes is you raise prices and you drive corporations overseas, and Apple begins to accumulate cash in Ireland again. That's what that was all about. It was repatriating cash that American corporations don't bring home because the tax rate's better in Ireland, and it will be the highest corporate tax rate in the world. So that argument hasn't begun yet. But I don't think they got 5 votes. They can only lose 5 votes in the House. And now, it is true the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is flat on its back and ruined. It's the least effective organization in D.C. right now. So it's
certainly not reflective of Republicans in any way, shape, or form.
Right. It's completely gone off the rails, and so they can't protect themselves. But I expect businesses will organize through their respective affiliations to go and talk to legislators. Quick question, Jay. In terms of the Democratic agenda, the parliamentarian, as you noted, was supposed to rule on Friday about Chuck Schumer's power grab. When is that ruling going to come? Then what didn't happen because of the attack on the Capitol?
We expect it early this week. And we're talking about using the reconciliation, the fast-track budget process again for a second time on a single budget bill, which would be unprecedented and would change the Senate probably forever, because then people could just ask for a million options to pass. It's essentially blowing up the filibuster without blowing up the filibuster.
And do you expect that to pass?
I don't know. I mean, you clearly don't think so, right, Hugh?
No, I don't. I think the Senate parliamentarian is a real deal. She ruled the right way. They've disappointed Republicans before. I think the Senate parliamentarian makes senators change the law with the nuclear filibuster. They don't do it for them. They don't do it for him. So I tend
to agree with you.
Jake Sherman of Punchbowl News. Go to punchbowlnews.com.